The story begins with a few Spartan warriors standing with a newborn child in their hands. Sparta had a strict rule. Only the strongest and healthiest babies were allowed to live. If a child was weak or physically unfit, they were killed without mercy, because Sparta accepted only those who could grow up to become powerful warriors. Here, we see the main character of this story, Leonidas, who is 7 years old at this time. It was a Spartan tradition that once a child turned 7, they were thrown into intense discipline and brutal training. Their training was so terrifying that no force, whether human or animal, could weaken them. After 9 years of such fierce training, when Leonidas turned 10, he had to face the final test. He was sent alone into a cold, dark forest on a night where he encountered a dangerous wolf. The wolf's red, burning eyes glowed in the darkness, but Leonidas felt no fear, no thought of losing. For him, there was only one rule: kill or be killed. He forced the wolf into a narrow cave, and at the perfect moment, he struck with his spear and killed it on the spot. When he returned victorious, his bravery earned him the title of King of Sparta. Years later, Leonidas was not just the king of Sparta, he also had a family. His son had now reached the age where he too would undergo the same brutal training. But then, news shook the walls of Sparta. In the assembly, a man named Theron informs the king that a messenger from Persia has arrived with an important message. Leonidas wastes no time and goes to meet the messenger. The Persian messenger looks at him with arrogance and says, "I bring a message from the great King Xerxes. His army is so vast that when they release their arrows, even the sun will be blocked." As soon as the messenger finishes speaking, a spark of fury ignites in Leonidas' eyes. His voice now holds no mercy, only rage and insult. "You have made 2 mistakes," Leonidas says, staring straight into the messenger's eyes. "First, you came to my doorstep showing the severed heads of my own kings, and second, you insulted my queen." The next moment, without giving any warning, Leonidas kicks the messenger so hard that he falls straight into a deep well. His scream echoes against the stone walls. The rest of the Persian soldiers who came with him are also killed. But this was only the beginning. The Persian king Xerxes was already marching towards Sparta with a massive army of millions. Leonidas knew that this battle must be fought on his own terms. According to Spartan law, no war can be fought without the approval of the priests. So Leonidas, along with his soldiers, goes to the ancient priests who had been deciding the laws of Sparta for centuries. But these priests were corrupt and wicked. They listened to Leonidas' plan carefully and said, "We will first ask the oracle, then make a decision." Here, we learn the bitter truth behind the oracle. These people claimed to speak for the gods, but in reality, they exploited young girls to satisfy their own desires. Leonidas receives their verdict. This is not the right time for war. The month of August is a time of festivals, and Sparta cannot fight during this period. But Leonidas knew this was a lie. The priests had already been bribed by Xerxes. Their true intention was clear. If Sparta's army refused to fight, nothing could stop Xerxes from taking over. But Leonidas was a Spartan. He was willing to go to any extent to protect his land, his people, and the honor of his queen. Spartan law stated that a king could not go to war with his full army, but Leonidas found a way. As soon as he stepped out of the temple, he gathered his men and declared loudly, "We are not going to war. We are simply going north for a walk. And these 300 men are my personal bodyguards." Hearing this, his 300 most loyal warriors smiled. They knew they were marching toward a battle from which returning alive was nearly impossible. Meanwhile, betrayal was growing within Sparta itself. The corrupt leader Theron had already sold himself to Xerxes. He had promised to bribe the priests so that Leonidas would receive no support. But Spartan wars were fought with passion, not with money. Leonidas hugs his queen and son for the last time. When Leonidas prepares to leave for battle, he says only one thing while departing: "Take care of our people." But his wife stops him. She puts her necklace around his neck and says, "Return, or come back carried on your shield." Because she believed that Leonidas was not just a king. He was the kind of warrior whose very presence made his enemies tremble. These words were the final test of honor for a Spartan warrior. Losing was not an option for them. After an emotional farewell, Leonidas sets out with his 300 Spartan soldiers for war. Leonidas and his 300 warriors had now left Sparta, But would they really be able to stop Xerxes' massive army? Would these 300 warriors become immortal in history? Or would their sacrifice go in vain? On the way, they meet 200 Arcadians who say, "We heard that you are going to war against Xerxes, so we are here to join you." But can such a small force face an army of millions? Hearing this, Leonidas smiles and asks the Arcadians about their professions. One says he is a sculptor, another says he is a potter. Then Leonidas turns to his Spartan soldiers and asks them, "What is your profession?" In a single moment, all Spartans roar loudly. "We are warriors." Their voice carried the kind of passion that proved, whether the enemy was 3,000 or 3,000,000, fear did not exist in their blood. Meanwhile, a hunchbacked man was watching them from the distant hills. Leonidas sensed his presence, but he ignored it. Moving ahead, they reach a kingdom that was completely burned down. There were piles of dead bodies everywhere. Suddenly, a wounded child stumbles and falls into Leonidas' arms. Leonidas asks him what had happened here. The child, trembling, says, "Some monsters came, like dark shadows, unstoppable." Saying this, he takes his final breath. Arcadians panic and say, "These are the immortals, no one can defeat them." But Leonidas replies, "Our swords will decide that." They see that those demonic soldiers had brutally killed the people of the kingdom and hung their bodies from trees. Seeing this, Leonidas' anger only grows. That very night, nature itself favors the Spartans. From the western cliffs, Leonidas and his soldiers see the massive Persian fleet approaching. But then a violent storm hits, drowning many of Xerxes' warships, killing thousands of Persian soldiers. Every Spartan rejoices, but Leonidas remains calm. He knew the real war was yet to come. The next day, a Persian battalion stands before the Spartans. Their commander threatens, "How will a handful of you fight an army of millions? There is still time. Kneel before the king and save your people from slavery." Hearing this, Leonidas becomes enraged and cuts off the commander's hand with his sword. After this, thousands of Persian soldiers charge into the narrow pass to attack the Spartans. But this was the gate of hell, a place where numbers meant nothing. Here, even an army of thousands could not stand against 300 Spartans. The Spartans had a special strategy. Some would form a shield wall and push forward while others attacked from behind. Seeing this, the Persians were terrified. Slowly and steadily, the Spartans killed their enemies one by one. Here, Leonidas was continuously slaughtering enemies without stopping. News reached Xerxes himself that the warrior standing against him was no ordinary soldier. It was Leonidas. So Xerxes arrives with his elite guards to negotiate. He says, "Leonidas, I am Xerxes, the god-king of Persia, ruler of millions. Join me, and I will make you my warlord. In all of Greece, no one will be greater than you. Just kneel before me." Leonidas replies, "Your words are tempting, but the kneeling part? I didn't like that. Besides, my leg has grown stiff from killing your soldiers all day. So forgive me, Xerxes, but I reject your offer." Hearing this, Xerxes becomes furious and sends his most dangerous battalion, which includes not only men but giant monsters as well, each one equal to 10 soldiers. But even their strength was useless before Leonidas. With a single strike, he sliced off their heads. Every war had its rules, like how battles were not fought after sunset. At that time, Ephialtes arrives, the same hunchbacked man who had been following them. Leonidas asks him, "Why are you here?" Ephialtes replies, "I am also a Spartan, my king. My parents were from Sparta, but according to Spartan law, if a child was disabled or hunchbacked, he was killed on the spot, but my mother didn't want that. So she left Sparta with my father. My father taught me how to fight. This spear, this armor, and this clothing are all gifts from him." Seeing Ephialtes' passion, Leonidas says, "Raise your shield and show me." But because of his hunchback, Ephialtes cannot lift the heavy shield. Leonidas explains to him, "In war, every Spartan protects his comrade with his shield. If even one shield in the line is weak, the entire formation will collapse. I'm sorry, friend, but I cannot include you in this battle." Ephialtes begs Leonidas and says, "I was born to fight. I want to sacrifice my life for my country and my people and die as a martyr." Leonidas replies, "You can still do many important things in this war, like removing the bodies of fallen soldiers, giving water to the wounded, and helping them." But these words pierce Ephialtes. In anger and humiliation, he throws his shield and spear on the ground and goes straight to Xerxes. There he reveals everything about Leonidas' army and their strategies. In return, Xerxes gives him women, wealth, luxury, and a Persian uniform, making Ephialtes officially part of his army. After losing his elite warriors on the battlefield, Xerxes decides to deploy his magical battalion. With the help of Asian sorcerers, he plans to defeat the Spartans using explosive weapons. During this brutal battle, the son of Leonidas' captain dies. The captain is so devastated that 3 men are needed to hold him back. But he buries his grief inside and burns with the fire of revenge, killing every enemy that comes before him. Meanwhile, we see Leonidas' queen, who wants to send Sparta's full army to support her husband. But the Spartan council refuses. So she decides to meet the council leader, Theron. But Theron's intentions were already vile. He wanted to sleep with the queen. For the sake of saving her husband, she is forced to have physical relations with him. On the battlefield, a soldier named Arcades approaches Leonidas and says, "Xerxes has found out about our hidden western hill. He has sent a troop to attack us from behind." Leonidas proudly replies, "We are Spartans. We neither kneel before anyone nor do we accept defeat. Even if death stands before us, we face it head-on." After this, Leonidas calls his trusted soldier Dilios. Leonidas tells Dilios, "Go, tell my queen and my people that I never thought of fleeing the war, nor did I kneel before Xerxes. The soil and water of Sparta were ours before, are ours now, and will remain ours forever. Just tell our people to remember us." Dilios, emotional, asks, "And any message for your queen?" Leonidas, with a faint smile, hands him the token given by his wife and says, "I have no words. Give this to her, and tell her, just remember us." In the council hall, the queen passionately pleads, "We must send Sparta's army to help Leonidas." But the traitor Theron stands up and says, "This woman is characterless. She even tried to have relations with me." Hearing this filthy lie, the queen trembles with rage. She instantly pulls out his sword and slashes him. Within moments, Theron collapses and dies. A bag of gold spills from his clothes, and all council members realize that he was a traitor who sold himself to Xerxes. Back on the battlefield, Xerxes stands before Leonidas. One of Xerxes' generals steps forward and says, "Leonidas, your handful of soldiers cannot face an army of millions. Your defeat is certain. But if you bow before our merciful Emperor Xerxes, you can become the greatest general of all Greece. You can rule the entire world. Just drop your shield and spear and show your loyalty to the great Xerxes." Fire flares in Leonidas' eyes. But to protect his people, he drops his shield and spear and slowly kneels down. Xerxes smiles proudly. But the very next moment, Leonidas suddenly gathers all his hidden strength and throws a spear at Xerxes. The spear spins through the air and cuts straight across Xerxes' cheek. His precious jewelry shatters and falls, and blood drips from his face. But immediately afterward, an overwhelming army of archers standing on the hill unleashes a rain of arrows. And Leonidas and his brave warriors fall, one by one. There is a king who never cared for his own life, not even for a moment, when it came to his people. A warrior who, with just a handful of soldiers, fought until his last breath. Before the war ends, Leonidas sees a glimpse of his wife and son, as if in another world they are waiting for him. Standing in the parliament building, Dilios says with full passion, the king never wanted a grand memorial nor songs of his victory. He only wanted his people to remember him, remember that he never kneeled nor ever bowed his head. The story ends here. If you like this video, don't forget to like and share it. And for more such story explanations, subscribe my channel. Thanks for watching.